Today I'm bringing you my endgame version of the Lightning Spear Huntress that blasts through tier 15 and 16 maps in just 2 to 3 minutes. What separates this version from all the others out there is that we're able to stack so much movement speed through two methods I've not seen discussed much, on top of the insane chaining capabilities of Lightning Spear. With the latest update, we also got a new support gem that makes this build even better for both clearing and single target DPS. Yes, we can kill tier 16 bosses and pinnacle bosses with ease with this setup as well. Plan a link for the build will be down in the comments below. Let's go over the major changes from my previous setup I posted a couple of days ago. So movement speed is absolutely critical for mapping efficiently and lowering that time to clear a map. And for Lightning Spear builds, because you want to build up charges of Vault, so your Lightning Spear is juiced up, movement speed is even more valuable so you can build those charges up faster. So within this build we utilize two additional sources of movement speed beyond just our boots. The first is that we incorporate one of the best buffs in the game, Tailwind, through the legendary helmet, the Black Insignia Corsair cap, which is going to proc every time you crit. And if you know anything about the Amazon Lightning Spear build, you're critting all the time. Tailwind is a stacking buff which provides you with 1% movement speed, 1% skill speed, and 15% evasion rating for every stack up to a maximum of 10 stacks. It's so easy to get 10 stacks and maintain those 10 stacks of this in a map, so you're constantly going to have an additional 10% movement speed at all times. The buff goes away if you get hit and you have to restack it, but because this is an evasion based build and your movement speed is good, that rarely happens. The 10% skill speed is amazing for spamming Stormlance for single target DPS as well. The second method is through our companion, and what you need to look for is a companion with Haste Aura. Haste Aura provides allies in the companion's presence a buff, which provides 20% attack speed and 10% movement speed. Now I know what you're thinking, your companion often falls behind. Well, you also want to look for the buff Hasted on your companion as well. Hasted boosts your companion's movement speed so the companion can stay close to you even when you have 10 stacks of Tailwind, so you're constantly receiving the Haste Aura benefit. If you manage to find a monster with both of these buffs, you truly are set. Stacking both the Haste Aura and Tailwind in combination has made my mapping clear speed so much better. Honestly, I've not played anything like this so far. The final major change is the new support gem, Inhibitor. This prevents consumption of frenzy charges, which may seem counterintuitive, but if you pair it with Barrage, it's so good for the build, for both mapping and bossing. For mapping, using your frenzy charges on Barrage isn't that great. It doesn't give as much of a boost as it does to Lightning Spear itself. Barrage at base destroys the screen, so you want to sometimes throw a second or third Lightning Spear whilst Barrage comes off cooldown. So now with Inhibitor, your frenzy charges will carry over after using that initial barrage, and then you can follow it up with a juiced up Lightning Spear straight after. For bossing, again, you don't want to use your frenzy charge on barrage, you want to use it on Stormlance. So now you can use barrage first to fire 3 Stormlances at once, and then the frenzy charge will juice up all 3 of them, which is going to make your single target DPS so much better. So yes, TLDR, put Inhibitor on barrage. The other big change I've done with the build is I've dropped the Keystone Dance with Death. With Tailwind and Hasted Aura, we have so much attack speed, we just don't need the benefit from Dance with Death anymore. Attack speed isn't that great for Lightning Spear anyways, because the gameplay demands that you run around a little bit between each Lightning Spear throw to build up some Vault. So the DPS increase you see on paper with attack speed doesn't actually happen in practice. Attack speed is beneficial, however, for Stormlance spam, so yeah, those benefits from our companion in Tailwind are welcomed. Instead of using Dance with Death, we now use the legendary shield like Hosadai Rampart Tower Shield. This legendary gives you double accuracy when you equip it, meaning you get way more value out of the Amazon node critical strike. It's honestly amazing for the build. We also get block chance incorporated into the build on top of all the evasion, meaning we just get more survivability. It's just a net improvement in my eyes all round. I've also made some major changes to our skill gems so it all just flows together much better. Let's get into it. The biggest change I've done is to Infuse Weapon, which is our Ascendancy node skill, where I've completely changed the setup. Infuse Weapon activates whenever we consume a frenzy charge, so it's constantly active during map clearing with Lightning Spear and Stormlance spam with bossing. So here I've placed Lightning Exposure to lower our enemies' resistances to lightning damage, which will benefit both Lightning Spear and Stormlance. Blind, which will blind enemies on hit. I'll explain a little later why that's important. And then we have Strip Away, which makes Lightning Exposure even better, and Conduction so we can shock enemies better. For Lightning Spear, remember to quality this gem first to 20% so you can create more bolts on impact. The most important support gem for Lightning Spear is Vault, which just creates so many more projectiles when throwing a lightning spear after running around. Innovate, which is a 35% damage buff. And then we use Fork, which doesn't impact Lightning Spear, but it does create more projectiles for the bolts that come from Lightning Spear. Definitely use Fork. And then I'm using Primal Armament to improve damage by another 25%. The final support gem I'm using is Perpetual Charge, which gives us a 35% chance not to use our Frenzy Charge, but still benefit from it. For our Storm Lance, I'm using Concentrated Effect, which means we deal more damage with it. We don't care about the AoE because it's a single target DPS skill. Lightning Infusion for more lightning damage. Martial Tempest, we can really spam those Storm Lances. And Blindside, so our Storm Lance has 15% more crit chance and deals 15% more critical damage against blinded enemies. This is why we put Blind onto Infused Weapon, so we can deal even more damage against bosses. For Explosive Spear, which you alternate with Storm Lance spam to explode those Storm Lances, you put Overabundance so you can throw 2 Explosive Spears out without overriding each other. Fire Infusion for more damage. Expedite so the Explosive Spear detonates faster. For Barrage, we have the new Inhibitor support gem, Premeditation for more damage, and Ingenuity for a lower cooldown. For Sniper's Mark, we have Persistence to lengthen the time we debuff enemies, Arcane Temper to lower its cast time. And then for Herald of Thunder, this is really important you follow the exact support gems here. We have Magnified Effect for greater AoE, and then you have to have this combination. You need Electrocute so you can electrocute enemies, which will then trigger Combat Frenzy to get your frenzied charges. You also need Neural Overload, which will mark any nearby enemies which have been hit by Herald of Thunder, so the next time they are hit, they're electrocuted. You need both of these support gems to generate frenzy charges. It's absolutely mandatory. For Combat Frenzy, we have Profusion, so sometimes we can gain 2 frenzied charges, and Precision for an accuracy buff. Remember, accuracy is really important for damage within the build, and I'll explain why a little later. I've also put Cannibalism as another support gem here. This is going to give us 2% life per kill, so on 1 lightning spear throw you're going to heal half your health pretty much. Then I'm using a companion within the build with Haste Aura and Hasted as I've explained before. I've put Meat Shield on it so it dies less, and Elemental Army so again it dies a little bit less with better defenses. Haste Aura gives you that 20% attack speed and 10% movement speed. It's really powerful, and Hasted gives the monster a similar buff so it can keep up with you and apply the Haste Aura. Then our defensive buff within the build is Wind Dancer, which gives us even more evasion. Here we're using Pin as our support gem. Moving on to gear, let's start off with our weapon. For the end game you want a spear which has a high critical hit chance at base. You want either a Sea Glass spear or a Spike spear. Sea Glass does have the higher base crit chance, but it is more expensive and has an intelligence requirement to wear. The 2 most important stats to look for on your weapon are physical damage and accuracy. Lightning Spear damage is converted from physical damage, so we want as high a Fizz roll as possible. Accuracy is arguably even more valuable, as with Penetrate node from your Ascendancy you can get lots of added physical damage. Then I would look for critical hit chance, critical damage bonus, increased elemental damage with attacks. I've socketed the weapon for more physical damage, but even socketing it with accuracy may be a good shout here. Now let's talk about spirit requirements. There are a lot of gems that require spirit within this build. We need roughly 90 to 95 extra spirit from gear if you want to run my exact setup, 80 to 85 if you drop the precision support gem from Combat Frenzy. The 2 pieces we get this from are our amulet, so look for solar amulets with the implicit spirit, and then your chest piece as well. For your amulet, look for spirit, accuracy, and resistances. A cheap anoint for your amulet here is Critical Exploit, which gives you 25% increased critical hit chance. The distilled essences for these don't cost very many exalts. For your chest piece, again look for Spirit, Maximum Life, and Resistances. For your rings, these are going to provide us with more damage. You want to look for Emerald rings, which have an accuracy implicit. Then look for good flat damage rolls, especially for physical and lightning, as well as even more accuracy and resistances. For your gloves, again you want good flat damage, physical and lightning, along with accuracy, and then more resistances. For your helmet, you have the black Insignia Corsair cap. Even for a legendary helmet, I really like the stats this thing gives. It gives a good amount of evasion at base. Remember, Tailwind also gives you 150% increased evasion at maximum stacks. It gives you lightning res and it gives you rarity, so it doesn't feel like you're losing out on too much in comparison to a rare. Our shield is the Lycosidai Rampart Tower Shield. This thing not only gives you survivability through block chance, but it also doubles your accuracy rating, which gives a ton of critical hit chance through our Ascendancy node. For your belt, look for resistances and maximum life, and then finally for your boots, you want as high a movement speed roll as possible, along with maximum life or mana and resistances. When you start to get more currency, you want to also aim to fit around 100% rarity within this gear, which will improve your currency drops by a lot. But any sort of rarity within the rolls I've already mentioned is going to increase the price of that same gear piece. For your flasks, you want to make sure they have charges per second as an affix. This helps out in tougher situations, like pinnacle bosses where the fight may be a little bit more drawn out. For your charm, you either want the thawing charm to prevent freeze, or I here have the stone charm to prevent stunning, which during ritual encounters can be really annoying. Moving on to the passive skill tree, starting off with our ascendancy nodes. The first node you want to get is Elemental Infusion, which will give you the skill Infused Weapon. This will give your attacks another AoE infused blast after you consume a frenzied charge. Then you want Critical Strike. This node is why we stack accuracy. We can now stack accuracy beyond 100%, and 25% of that extra value is added onto our critical hit chance with attacks. The display tooltip for this is bugged within the game, but yeah, just know it adds a ton of critical hit chance to your attacks. Then for your third ascendancy points, you want to get Predatory Instinct, which will help you kill rares whilst mapping easier. And then finally you want Penetrate last. This is a great node and you may want to get this before Predatory Instinct, but it does require a good weapon with a good amount of accuracy to really get the most out of it. So for a lot of people with bad gear, you want to get Predatory Instinct before. For the passive tree, we focus on getting accuracy clusters, critical hit clusters, and lightning penetration. This initial path here is accuracy nodes, and then we have an accuracy cluster here. There's another accuracy cluster here, and another accuracy cluster up here. Our critical hit nodes are here, and then up here. We also add in some elemental damage and lightning penetration down here. Then we also have some more lightning penetration up here. Make sure you get all these spear nodes down here, which are fantastic for boosting damage output. There's also a couple of defensive nodes within the build which boost evasion, which along with life and resistances are our main form of defense for the build. As I level up more and go into the 90s, I'll probably path up here, get this dual socket, and then path up into these critical nodes here. For your jewels, you ideally want emeralds with accuracy rating, projectile damage, and critical damage bonus for spears. So there you have it, my speed running lightning spear Javazon build that will have you clearing maps in no time. Mapping quickly and efficiently to all the corrupted nexuses to get those atlas points is the name of the game, and this build will help you do so very quickly. If you enjoyed what I talked about today, remember to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel as I keep on updating this build in Dawn of the Hunt. I'm Mr. On It, and that's it for today. Peace out, guys.